भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भागवतीतमश्लोके
भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama.
Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Puranam Brahma Samhitam.
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam.
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi.
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Yeshreyasaya Lokasya.
Yeshreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasya Namaha.
Dhanyam Swasthaya Namaha.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Sri Vyasadeva. It is meant for the people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Shri Advaita Gadadhar,
Shri Advaita Gadadhar,
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Surabhyai Namaha.
Om 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 Surabhyai Namaha.
Mukam karoti vatanam padam langayate girim. Kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. Yakripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We continue from Canto number 1, chapter 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations, and yesterday, since we have a long purport, we covered half of that purport, and that is text number 28. We will read the text again, since it is a very important text. Ete Chamsha Kalaha Pumsaha Krishnas Tu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vridayanti Yuge Yuge Ete Chamsha Kalapumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vridayanti Yuge Yuge Ete Chamsha Kalapumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vridayanti युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
एते शंसाकला पुंसः
एते चांशकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रादि व्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
विदयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
ते चांसकलः पुंसः
एते
चांसकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारि व्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति
युगे युगे
एते चांशकलः पुंसः
एते चांसकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रादि
व्याकुलं लोकम्
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
एते चांसकलं पुंसः
एते चांशकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
मृदयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
Sanskrit. Oh, it's Kannada. Okay. G.
एते जांसकला पुंसः
एते चांशकलः पुंसः
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयं
कृष्णस्तु भगवान् स्वयम्
इन्द्रारि व्याकुलं लोकम्
इन्द्रारिव्याकुलं लोकम्
उदयन्ति युगे युगे
मृडयन्ति युगे युगे
Ete.
एते
All these.
these
Cha.
Cha
And. Amsha.
Amsha
Plenary portions.
plenary portions
Kalaha.
Kalaha
Portions of the plenary portions.
portions of the plenary portions
Pumsaha.
Pumsaha
Of the Supreme.
of the Supreme
Krishna.
Krishna
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna
Two.
but
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan
The personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead
Swayam.
Swayam
In person.
in person
Indra Ari.
Indrari
The enemies of Indra.
the enemies of Indra
Planets.
all the planets
Mridayanti.
Mridayanti
Gives protection.
gives protection
Yuge Yuge.
Yuge Yuge
In different ages.
in different ages.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. The Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. Kind of repeat to me. All the above mentioned incarnations
All the above mentioned incarnations
are either plenary portions
are either plenary portions
or portions of the plenary portions
or portions of the plenary portions
of the Lord.
of the Lord.
But Lord Sri Krishna
But Lord Sri Krishna
is the original
is the original
personality of Godhead.
personality of Godhead.
All of them appear
All of them appear
on planets
on planets
whenever there is a disturbance
whenever there is a disturbance
created by the atheists.
created by the atheist.
The Lord incarnates
The Lord incarnates
to protect the
to
theists.
protect the theists.
So we have read the first and second paragraph, two long paragraphs, and now we are continuing from the third, and then there will be the fourth and last paragraph, also quite long. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's statement, in accordance with authoritative sources. Lord Krishna is the source of all other incarnations. It is not that Lord Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the Supreme Truth in full are present in the person of Lord Sri Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord emphatically declares that there is no truth greater than or equal to himself. In this stanza, the word Swayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places the incarnations are described as Bhagavan because of their specific functions, nowhere are they declared to be the Supreme Personality. In this stanza, the word Swayam signifies the supremacy as the summum bonum. So, Srila Prabhupada is making reference here to Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis deputed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to specifically research and study the Vedic literatures for that very specific purpose of establishing what is called tattva. Tattva is very, very important for everyone because tattva has to do with dharma. We cannot avoid these two terms, and they are intimately related to one another as well. Dharma we come to know from the Bhagavatam. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat kanitam. Dharma is not man-made. Dharma, which is generally translated as religion, is not something that is man-made. Of course, people have made many religions. Man has made many types of religion, but because they have been made by people, imperfect individuals, those are referred to as sub-religions. They are very different than what we refer to as in the Vedic literatures as Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan, the very word Sanatan means they are based on eternal truths. They are based on eternal principles. So, what does it mean, eternal? Eternal means should not be changed, isn't it? So, the basic principles of religiosity being Sanatan, being eternal, they are applicable, those basic principles are applicable always. Although we come to learn from the Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures that according to different ages, then some aspect may be emphasized. Just like in Kali Yuga, it's not recommended to give so much time for performing yajnas as they were done before. because the performance of yagyas, to perform yagyas properly, one needs uh, very qualified brahmanas who don't need any matches to light the fire. They can just by mantra light the the fire for the yajna, and one needs a huge quantity of ghee, isn't it? Which is also not available in our present society. So Shastra. Shastra is, we translate Shastra in English as scriptures, isn't it? So these are not just like books. They're not ordinary books. They're books, but they're not common ordinary books. They are, we can say, Prabhupada once, I think maybe in this chapter, Prabhupada was explaining that they are inspired books. They are books that have a divine connection because they are either given directly under Shruti. Shruti means as opposed to Smriti. Shruti is directly given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the moment of creation to Lord Brahma. And the Vedas, they are Shruti, directly given, direct transcendental sound vibration. Whereas Smriti are also divine books, but they are revealed by those who are self-realized. So one of the foremost authorities, and we are extremely fortunate to have such a personality, but of course it's not only one personality. Prabhupada is making reference to Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Sat Sandarbhas establishes two things which are of extreme importance for all of us. What are those two things? Well, there are 6 books and a lot of material is covered, but the two most important aspects explained and established based on various Vedic references. Number one, that Krishna, same thing, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And secondly, same point actually that is made by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that the only way to actually understand Tattva is through Vedic literatures. This is the first of the Tattvas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, although a very small book, but a very powerful book, just like the Nectar of Instruction. It's a small book, but a very powerful book. So in the Dasamula Tattva, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his first Tattva is that all knowledge comes from the Vedas. There is no knowledge that can be accepted as knowledge, that because knowledge means it is based on eternal truth or Tattva. So unless it is confirmed in the Vedas, then we do not accept it. So that is the second point. And Srila Jiva Goswami goes a little further by stating that not only are Vedas the primary source of knowledge, but actually of all the Vedic writings, the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the, not only we say Grantaraj, king, Raj, Raja means king, not only the Bhagavatam, the king of all knowledge, but what does Srila Jiva Goswami say? the Srimad Bhagavatam is the emperor. Is the emperor. King, there's so many kings, but there's generally one emperor. Vedic culture is like that.
Chakravarti.
Huh?
Chakravarti.
Chakravarti. That's the translation for emperor, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. Chakravarti. But now many people have this name, Chakravarti.
That is surname.
We have one Chakravarti devotee in ISKCON, Bangalore. He's not an emperor. So yeah, that used to be the standard, the system. Parikshit Maharaj, after the Pandavas retired after Lord Krishna finished his pastimes in the material world. So he was installed as the emperor of the whole world. Yeah. So this is a very interesting concept actually, which we tend to forget about, that if we understand that there is tattva, if we understand that there is eternal means perfect knowledge, then that tattva, that knowledge, is meant to be followed by everyone in the material world, because that knowledge has been given especially, in other words, personalities like Yudhishthira Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, all the previous great Vedic kings, Vaishnava kings, they would rule their country. They would enact legislation. They would pass laws based on the universal laws, not changing laws all the time based on their own mental speculations, which are actually ultimately very destructive for the citizens and for the animals also, and for everything, for the planet itself. So, so that's why Prabhupada is always, he, I was just hearing one of the very early lectures given by Srila Prabhupada way back in 1966. Prabhupada was explaining about the authority of the Bhagavad Gita, the authority, the identity of Krishna. And I'm sure you've read, it's, I forget it, I think it's in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita introductions. Prabhupada was lecturing on this point. Maybe that introduction was taken from that particular lecture. Prabhupada was telling that he had met one American lady in the very beginning, early days, who was asking, she was asking Srila Prabhupada, can you Prabhupada at that time had not published his Bhagavad Gita. So the lady, American lady, and he even mentions her name. Prabhupada was very good at names. I forget her name. She was asking Prabhupada, can you recommend me a good edition of the Bhagavad Gita? And then Prabhupada was explaining in the lecture that when this lady asked me this question, I had to explain to her, I don't know of any good editions. All the editions in English that I know that were available at that time, when Prabhupada went to America, already there were so many English editions. I remember I also got one, what they call Penguin edition. Penguin is a publishing house, and I guess it's a little bit like the Gita Press here in India. They print a lot of books, huge quantities. and books related to Vedic culture, etc. But many of the authors are not necessarily, we call it, say, bona fide, and therefore people who read these books will not get the real substance or the real knowledge. So Prabhupada was making that point. That I could not recommend to that lady any book because from my observation, my knowledge, none of them are actually presenting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in that sense, we are, extremely fortunate that we have a personality like Srila Prabhupada, who was, he was born in a Vaishnava family, and he came in contact with a bona fide Vaishnava authority, Vaishnava spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And, Krishna explains himself in the Bhagavad Gita how it is very rare. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudulabha. It is very, very rare for someone to actually really understand who is Krishna. So this is being pointed out here, especially in this verse. And one of the foremost authorities is being quoted here by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Jiva Goswami. So just to continue here, the Samam Bonam, Krishna, is one without a second. There is no rival. Sorry. He himself has expanded himself in various parts, portions, and particles as Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakash, Tad Ekatma, Prabhava, Vaibhav, Vilas, Avatar, Avesha, and Jivas, all provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the Samam Bonam. Samam Bonam is one of the 10 main topics. What does Samam Bonam mean?
Main topics.
Huh?
Main topics.
Main topic. Not quite. What does Samam mean? Summit. The word summit comes from Samam. Topmost. Topmost. Any Sanskrit scholar here? Samam means topmost, and I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. Bonam.
Uttamam.
Uttamam. No, bonum.
बोनम का मतलब
In French, there is a word bon. Anyone French here? Bon means good. I never thought of it before actually. But bon, like the word bien, c'est très bien, it's very good. C'est très bon. Bien and bon are similar in French. In English, what is good? Bon. Bon means good.
Very good.
Very good. So actually, all the different languages have some words, like Prabhupada explained. In English, we have man. Man comes from Manu.
मनु या
Man comes from Manu. We are actually, people don't know this, we come from another planet.
Manusya.
Yeah, Manusya.
Means Manu.
Manusya. Manusya is those who are descendants of Manu, mankind. Everything has a connection, a root in Sanskrit. So Samam Bonam, this is the, you only find the subject matter of Samabonam in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is especially that book of knowledge that explains about the Samabonam. Means the topmost, just like Bhagavad Gita speaks about, Prabhupada refers, topmost yoga. Yoga, so many kinds of yoga are described, but the topmost yoga, what is the topmost yoga? Huh?
Bhakti.
Yes, Bhakti yoga. Bhakti. So, learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the Samambonam. Krishna, the Samambonam Krishna to have 64 principal attributes. I won't ask you what the 64 attributes are, but I will ask what are the 4 unique and special attributes that are only found in Krishna. I won't ask you in Sanskrit, but in English. Krishna has, the Samambonam, as described here, has 64 qualities, attributes. And those who are Vishnu, Purusavatar, have up to 60. Whereas the Jiva, after Purusavatar, let's say, then of course there is Shiva. Shiva is in a category of his own, as we know. And how many does he have?
55.
Something like 50 something.
55.
55, 56. And the Jiva has the least. But there are 4 that even the Purusavatar they don't have. Although Purusavatar, they are what is called Vishnu Tattva. We are not Vishnu Tattva, and we can never become Vishnu Tattva. That's the mistake of Mayavadis. Mayavadis believe that we are all Vishnu, we're all God. We've just forgotten for some time. One day we'll again remember. So what are the 4 unique, you should know, at least one of them. Mention only one of them. Yes, flute.
Venu Madhuri.
Venu
Madhuri.
Madhuri. Yes, Venu Madhuri. Krishna, he's not the only person in Vrindavan who plays the flute. Many cowherd boys play the flute. But no cowherd boy plays the flute like Krishna plays the flute. It's like, you have many artists or dancers or whatever, and generally there's one very famous or one person that stands out. So of all the flute players in the world, Krishna is the topmost, because that's nicely described. What happens when Krishna plays his flute? Have you ever heard Krishna's flute? Some very fortunate souls, even in the material world, get to hear Krishna's flute. I have not heard Krishna's flute. But it is said that actually, if one happens to hear Krishna's flute, he'll go mad. In Vrindavan, when Krishna's flute is heard, everything comes to a standstill. Everything stops. All the cows become motionless. And what happens? Their ears are just like completely fixed, still. and they like fall in a trance. The effect of Krishna's flute is so powerful, not only the cows stand still, the Jamuna stops to flow. Now that's not ordinary. The Jamuna stops to flow. And some women, pregnant women, get miscarriage. And of course, all the residents of Vrindavan, especially the gopis, they become numb. They are like, practically speaking, hypnotized by Krishna's flute. You know that when Krishna plays his flute, this has been also demonstrated in modern day society, that cows are very attracted to sound, to music. And that is one of the reasons why Krishna plays his flute. Of course, again, he plays his flute in a way that no one else can play. And that sound vibration is very pleasing to the cows, very soothing. It's like, you know, people, they go to concerts, you know, they'll go to some opera house, they'll go to some, those places where they have concerts, and they'll sit for hours just hearing musical, you know, instruments, because sound vibration, even material sound vibration, if properly composed and played, is very attractive, very soothing, very pleasing to the heart. I mean, so much so that in the Brahma Samhita it describes that in the spiritual world, people just don't talk, but every word is a song, and every step is a dance. People don't walk. People don't walk and they don't talk. They only dance and sing in the spiritual world. So that is one of the four qualities. Krishna's playing the flute is unique to Krishna. Yeah. Another one?
Leela Madhuri. Leela.
Leela Madhuri.
Leela?
Leela Madhuri.
Leela Madhuri. Yes. Krishna's, Leela means pastimes. Krishna's pastimes are unparalleled. And that is why the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan are so attractive to devotees. Of all the other pastimes that the Lord performs through different incarnations, the Vrindavan pastimes. Even Krishna, when he leaves Vrindavan, feels a separation from his pastimes in Vrindavan. Yeah. When Krishna is in Dwarka, he's in anxiety. His mind is not in Dwarka. His body is in Dwarka, but his mind is in Vrindavan. And the queens of Dwarka, they notice this. Krishna is absent-minded. Why is Krishna absent-minded? So yes, so Venu Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, then?
Rasa Madhuri.
Huh?
Rasa. Rasa.
So, Rupa Madhuri.
Yeah, Rasa Madhuri. Rasa Madhuri means that Krishna, this refers to the associates of Krishna. Krishna's associates and the relationship that he has with different living entities is unparalleled, you know. So, rasa has to do with, the five primary rasas. Of course, there are 12 rasas, 7 additional secondary rasas. So only Krishna, exhibits these, all of these rasas in full. And all of us, as jivas, we actually have a particular rasa that we're not aware of right now. So to become Krishna conscious is not simply to know that we are, Jivair Swarupoi, Krishna Nityadas. We are eternal servants of Krishna, but what is that specific nature of that service? What is the specific personal relationship with Krishna? How do we serve? How are we meant to serve Krishna? Is something that only becomes known or revealed. That is referred to as one's Swarup Siddhi, or eternal personal relationship with Krishna. So, Venu Madhuri, Lila Madhuri, Rasa Madhuri, and
Rupa
Rupa.
Rupa Madhuri. Means?
Form.
Means form, yes. But specifically it means
Beauty.
beauty, most attractive. Krishna, that's why Krishna means the all attractive. The all attractive. That's why there are so many beautiful forms in the material world, but they're all temporary beautiful forms. Krishna's form is eternally beautiful form. And all of those, whatever is beautiful, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever splendor is there in the material world is but a, spark of my splendor. Is but a reflection. So, in other words, when we are fortunate to cultivate this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then we come to know that whatever is attractive here in the material world, it is that attraction, the source of that attraction, the nature that is coming actually from Krishna. Does it rain in the spiritual world? Does it snow? Does it snow in the spiritual world? Well, it rains in Zimbabwe. It rains in Vrindavan. Especially Indra makes it rain. I'm asking, what about the spiritual world? We'll find out when we get there. Okay, let's finish the picture here. Yeah, the 64 attributes are found in full only in Krishna. All the expansions or categories of the Lord possess only some percentage of these attributes. But Sri Krishna is the possessor of the attributes 100%. That means 100%. And his personal expansion, such as Swayam Prakash and Tad Ekatma, up to the categories of the avatars, who are all Vishnu Tattvas, possess up to 93%. 93% of these transcendental attributes. Lord Shiva, who is neither avatar nor Avesh, nor in between them, possesses almost, what percentage? Lord Shiva? 84% of the attributes. So 93, Vishnu Tattva. Lord Shiva, 84. But the jivas, or the individual living beings in different statuses of life, possess up to the limit of 78% of the attributes. 78. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of the pious life of the living being. So to become Lord Brahma, one has to develop fully these 78 attributes. The most perfect of living beings is Lord Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity. Whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. Sorry. The standard of perfection for human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. Once we develop those 78% of those qualities in full, then we are perfected. Yeah. We can go back we can either become a Lord Brahma, or if we are more fortunate, we can just get out of the material world and go back to Vaikuntha. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. A living being can become godly by developing the 78% transcendental attributes in fullness. So we cannot become Lord Shiva, we cannot become Vishnu, what to speak of Krishna. But he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, Krishna. Okay, yeah. He can become a Brahma in due course. So we all have the opportunity to become Lord Brahma. Would you like to become Lord Brahma?
No, madam.
No. No. Why?
So much
Too
headache.
much headache. You get to have 4 headaches. Not only one headache, you get 4 headaches. The godly living beings who are all residents of the planets in the spiritual sky are eternal associates of God in different spiritual planets called? What are the spiritual planets called? What are the material planets called? So the spiritual planets are called Haridham. Material planets are called? Huh? They're called Devi Dham. It was Devi Dham and Haridham. And what's in between?
Nice, madam.
Mahesh. Yeah, Mahesh Dham. The abode of Lord Krishna above all spiritual planets is called Krishna Loka, or Goloka. Yeah, Goloka Vrindavan. And the perfected living being, by developing 78% of the above attributes in fullness, can enter the planet of Krishna Loka after leaving the present material body. Haribol. We're on our way to Krishna Loka, Goloka. not Brahmaloka. It's a very nice purport given by Srila Prabhupada, and a long purport because the subject matter of this particular verse is of crucial importance. So, any comments or questions on this?
Like you said, Shastra gives us full, everything in full. Like we should study everything according to the science given in Shastra. Is it like that you can study the other things like Ayurveda and yoga and astrology about time and also apply?
So you're mentioning everything is full. If we study Ayurveda, astrology,
Yeah, those are also given in Shastras, right?
yeah, correct. So the question is,
So we should take that also as full, right?
we should take it as
All these sciences as also full, right? We should
full. Okay, okay. You mean complete. Perfect. Yes. Whatever is in Shastra, just like I had met one devotee who was actually the son of the Kaviraj who was treating Srila Prabhupada in his last days. I think Gupta something. He was only, he himself, as often is the case, being the son of a Kaviraj, he became a Kaviraj. And he traveled to different countries teaching devotees actually. So he would give lectures. When one lecture he was mentioning how I saw Srila Prabhupada for the first time when Srila Prabhupada was being carried on the palanquin the day after leaving his body. He was a young boy, maybe 5 years of age. So, naturally, he learned from his father and others, I suppose, the science of Ayurveda. He also spent some time in the US and I think in Australia, different countries. Being a doctor, qualified doctor, Ayurvedic doctor, he might have studied also modern medicine. He was a member of the medical association they have in different countries, like in America. So in one lecture he was giving, he was making the following observation, that in modern medical science, they're constantly changing their understanding of like the constitution of the body and changing like the diet, recommending different types of diet for people. And whereas in Ayurveda, because the science is, the science of the three dhatus are unchanging, just like we know on another level, the science of the three modes of material nature, the three gunas. It's not that when you go to another country you discover a fourth guna. The three gunas are part of prakriti, material energy. So Vedic science is based on eternal concepts and principles. It's part of Sanatana Dharma. So that's why those sciences, that's why Ayurveda, when it was properly followed, still some people follow, but much less, let's say, than before. For example, small example, there are three levels of treatment in Ayurveda. One is called Daivi, one is called Manasik, and one is called Asurik. So the Daivic level of treatment is with minerals, which is practically not known or followed today because it can be very dangerous to treat individuals with minerals without knowing the proper administration, you see, where they use, gold and very sometimes even toxic. Toxic means that if the proportions are not proper, they can kill you. Yeah. Nowadays, mostly in Ayurveda, they follow what is called manasik, which has to do with natural herbs that are available in nature. But of course, nowadays, as we know, many of these herbs are not available, and many of them are contaminated in so many ways, because the whole atmosphere is contaminated. Mother Earth has been contaminated due to excessive exploitation, use of chemical fertilizers, etc., etc. And then the third form of medicine, which is very much in reference to modern medicine, is called Asuri, whereby, for example, the different medicines that people, or drugs, isn't it? Modern medicine is based on chemicals, and it's causing, as we know, all kinds of very often severe side effects, etc. So in other words, a natural way to deal or to treat individuals is through the more natural and the more advanced medicine, which is Ayurveda. These two levels, either Daivik or Manasik. So these different shastras, although they are dealing with material energy, they are actually bona fide. They're based on bona fide knowledge that is revealed actually. Dhanvantari is the individual who we find in the Bhagavatam who is giving us the science of Ayurveda. Others are there as well. At different times, some of these sciences are just like even the science of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is telling Arjuna, the science has always been there, but at different times, like now, I'm revealing this knowledge to you because that science or knowledge has been broken, or the cyclic succession. So in a similar way, some of these material sciences also at different times disappear, and they become again revealed by different sages, etc. like that. And that is why, just to close on this topic, that is why, like in the traditional system of Vedic education, Gurukula, the subject matters are strictly in relation to what is in the Shastra. And we come to know that all knowledge needed to meet our different material needs as well as spiritual needs, psychological needs, social needs, economic needs, are all there in the Shastra. So yesterday I was mentioning about this Chaturvida, the Chaturvidya, the four standard, and they are also based on eternal truth, are these four basic sciences, isn't it? Beginning with Anvikshiki, then Trayi, and then Is it Dandaniti and Varta? And Varta, we spoke yesterday, is in relation to what is the perfect science of economics. What is that perfect science of economics, which is only found actually in the Vedic literatures? And that is based on Krishi Goraksha. Krishi Goraksha Vanijam. Vaisha Karma Swabhavajam. So that is why when we deviate from this standard perfect knowledge, then we create all kinds of disturbance, imbalances, for ourselves, for society, for the planet, etc. Like that. So that's why Vedic knowledge should be the basis of all curriculum. It was up until this, let's say, a few hundred years, and in the whatever existing traditional Vedic schools or let's say Gurukulas that we still find in some places in India, they don't study anything but from the Shastra. As a matter of fact, like in Sringeri Mat, they don't even study English. They don't bother with English. English is a very low-graded language. People in America might not like to hear that. But it's the most unscientific language. That's why many people have a hard time learning English.
Easy to for learn. Very easy to learn English.
Very easy to learn.
People that's why going English medium school.
No, not really, because it's not logical. It's like, anyways. Won't go into it too much. One person I met in Cambodia some years ago, he was from India. He was staying in India, in Cambodia for many years. Cambodia, which is like, used to be part of Thailand, Cambodia, all these countries were very close. I mean, they're all connected with the Vedic culture. So, the language they speak is called Khmer language, Cambodian people. It's like one of the few kingdoms. It's called the Kingdom of Cambodia. It's like the Kingdom of Thailand. So somehow I met him and we, we're discussing. I came to know he was in Cambodia for many years. So I asked him, so you must have learned the Cambodian language. He says, no. I said, why not? He said, I've had many teachers. I had many teachers trying to teach me the Cambodian language. And because he says, I'm from a Brahmana family where Sanskrit is like, everyone knows Sanskrit. So he said, because I know my Sanskrit, I cannot learn bad Sanskrit. It's like, all the language in the world are like, deviations of bad Sanskrit, right? Because Sanskrit is like the perfect language. That's why it's been adopted by NASA. They were looking for a language that would be more suitable for their research and whatnot. They adopted Sanskrit quite some years ago. Yeah, because Sanskrit is very, very methodical, very scientific, very, logical. When Prabhupada went to America, in one lecture, he was making reference to one great acharya who had, in his before becoming a devotee, was, engaged in all kinds of material activities. And then Prabhupada uses the word, he was telling that this devotee, after becoming a devotee, whenever he would think about the thoughts of sex life, he would spite on it. Prabhupada meant he would spit and spite. You know, because the English language, the same word will, it's not logical that it would be coming out in that way. So, anyways, that's about languages. So the main point is that Vedic knowledge, Vedic culture, Vedic sciences are most important because they are based on they are directly connected with the concept of Sanatana Dharma. And therefore, the world is in the crisis that it is in today because of deviation from this natural, simple, scientific knowledge. and Prabhupada was making the point that all of these different incarnations appear when there's an increase in atheists or people who don't follow Dharma. Okay? No, it's already too late.
Just
Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Srila Prabhupada ki. You can ask your question now, I suppose, after the class. So now, sir, yeah, what's your question?
a little bit more about Anil Sikhiya for basic principle in Anil.